We often say that Gen Z, millennials, and all this recent generation, young people around, we accuse them of not reading things like Shakespeare or some of the classics. However, if we think about it very deeply, we realize that they are exposed to so much information on several platforms. For example, many teenagers these days are sensations on social media with millions of people following them and what have you. However, there's also the phenomenon that when some of us were growing up, we had just exposure to one TV station or two. There was maybe NTA Channel 10 and one other in the local place where you live. And they will start at 4, close at maybe after 11 o'clock or 12. But these days, we have a scenario where there's more than 300 channels on your local cable TV channel. And then you have your phone with so many apps on the phone, so many games to play, and of course, so many social media platforms, many of which, there's so many that we can't even begin to mention them here. That is what is called digital distraction, which is the phenomenon we're going to be discussing today. How do people get around it? How do we remain productive, given all this exposure to so many things digitally? There are over 34 trillion pages on Google alone, and many more are being manufactured on a daily basis. Everybody here that has an idea puts something up. Many people have several pages that they are managing. This means that there's so much information for everybody to tap from. But also, you could be confused when you have so many options, such that you become paralyzed. Joining me today is Mr. Saeed Shokumbi from Germany, who is exposed to this kind of phenomenon and is going to be discussing with us what's the thinking now, especially in developed countries, around digital disruption and productivity. Welcome, Saeed.
Yeah, thank you very much for the warm introduction.
And thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Interesting to
so you listened to my introduction. Perhaps the phenomenon is even wider than I described. But the truth is that, look, in the workplace today, of course, many people are working from home these days. But when people are working from home, that is always my fear, that how do you actually get them to do anything when nobody is stopping them? When you go to offices, before this phenomenon of work from home, they will give you a computer where you cannot quickly run to Google or go to Facebook and all of. They've blocked it, so they try to make you put in 2-3 hours of work. Of course, they can't stop you doing whatever you want on your phone. But what is the thinking now, actually, in international circle where you live?
Actually, personally, I developed interest in the space of digital distraction. In 2020, at the wake of COVID-19, and I was basically working remotely. Then I realized, okay, after every second, I just want to see what's happening on Google or what's happening on Twitter, looking at Instagram. And I see myself when I say I want to spend 5 minutes on this social media platform. Before I know it, I've already spent an hour. Then I said, okay, something is wrong. Then I started carrying out a little research. I started by observing people on trains, in the bus, seeing what they're doing. Then I realized people scroll aimlessly, right? People don't even know what they're doing. They're just scrolling aimlessly. And I started engaging people. So fast forward, I started carrying out what I'll call my own little research. And at some point, I reached out to a popular man, David Allen. He is very popular when you talk about getting things done and productivity. I think it's based in the Netherlands. And I asked him the question, like, I would like to invite him for a session, at a university here in Germany. And he was like, okay, what's it about? We started talking and he said, okay, it's quite booked this year. But then he gave me some leads. Then that's why I started pursuing it. But just to come back to the question, I read an article recently, which was published by CNBC on the 29th of March. And it says that Gen Z in the United States, they are now buying what they call dumb phones, meaning the Nokias that we have back then, for those of us that are millennials, right? We're used to the Samsung blue screen, Nokia 3310. And this is what the Gen Zs are now buying in the United States. And when they asked them, when they did that survey, they said they want to have control over their lives. The digital overload is too much for them because you have your laptop, you have your iPad, you have your mobile phone, and all these are connected.
And your TV is smart TV as well.
The TV is smart TV. So we can just imagine what people are going through these days. And as much as some people might want to argue it, I've been doing this little research for like, I would say 3 years now, almost 3 years. And I can say with what I've been able to gather, right, there's a sort of disconnect. People are unproductive, and we're not paying attention to the distractions that comes as a result of the use of digital devices. And there's a concept called digital overload, and that's like you're getting to the peak already. But this is not something they discuss in schools or they discuss in organizations. But it's high time we start paying attention to subjects like this.
Fantastic. Because there's this concept of digital disruption, and everybody wants to be a disruptor. Back here in Africa, we like to copy, we just copy and paste. We hear that this is the latest fad. Everybody is a fintech owner. You hear them, they're pursuing, unicorn status. They are raising money. I mean, recently, there was another scandal pertaining to a Nigerian, which I wouldn't even bother to mention his name here. But it's really very interesting to find out that out there they are beginning to think about this thing and the fact that it's reducing productivity. But what are the propositions? In those circles, in the research circles, how do we get out of this? Apart from maybe buying the dumb phone, and if you give somebody a dumb phone for their birthday now, they probably will throw it in the dustbin, Of course. But I think that we have also crossed over, they've crossed over to a new thinking. The fact that, look, when you get on all of these platforms, they're very addictive. For example, Instagram. You're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and there's no end to that scrolling. And before you know it, you spend 2 hours just doing that scrolling. Well, what are the other scientific, what else is going on in this circle that we can learn from?
Yeah, so while I was doing this little research of mine, I was actually coming from the economics perspective. I was thinking of how to maximize resources, yeah? So when I jump on social media, or let me say anyone now, people feel like, oh, they're just spending their time, but in reality, you're not spending your time. Let's say, let's take Nigerian context as an instance. You go on social media platform, you spend 2-3 hours scrolling aimlessly, but then you're burning your data, right? For those that are into content,
yeah, you're burning your data. Yes, that's it. You're spending money.
Exactly, you're spending money, but people don't look at it from that perspective. But then, if you look at it from an economist and you look at it from what I would say a deep thinking perspective, if you're not a content creator, your business does not revolve around being online 24/7. You are not in the entertainment industry. You are not someone that works in the media or something, or documenting one research that makes you to always use digital devices. The question is, why would you spend so much time on it? People say, oh yeah, they just use it to. I spoke with some Gen Z. They say, oh, it's just a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of victimhood, because like they say, if you're not sitting around the table, then you're probably on the table. You're on the menu, and in which case, the time that people are spending browsing and doing all this aimless thing, being fed with so much information, and that these days, if you browse shoe, for example, on Google, the next thing is you go on Facebook and they're selling shoes to you.
They say shoes.
And they're barraging you. They've sold your information that this guy is looking for shoes. And so those people who are selling shoes have paid them money to be able to get, at times it's small amounts of money. And like you rightly said, every time you're on those platforms, you're spending money. In fact, some of those platforms are so smart, even when you sleep, they're taking money from your account. Because every update, for example, takes some data, okay, which you have to
Of
replace.
course.
So if sometimes you see the prompt you for an update say, well, this update is going to take 200 megabytes, for example. Do you want to continue because it's going to take your data, or do you want to link up to a Wi-Fi, maybe a Wi-Fi around in order to do this update and so on? Meaning that even when you sleep and update is going on, you are paying money. And this is a phenomenon, and I think this is a very important topic that many people are not looking at, and is this kind of intellectual discourse that really, really gets me going. It's a good one, you know. So
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
what should people do?
Yeah. First, the digital distraction and productivity from different lenses. Yeah. If you look at our institutions, our universities, even when we talk about secondary school students, university students, this kind of subject will not be taught in school. Never. If you now take it to organizations,
Yes.
if you're a business owner, you can create all kind of capacity building training. You can send your staff to do all these things, but there are some very silent things that we should pay attention to. This part of it, digital distraction. If you have employees that when they close off work and then when they get home, do their whatever, and then they spend 3-4 hours surfing the net, from moving from Instagram, one way or the other, it might not be direct. This is an indirect impact. It has an indirect impact on their productivity, meaning there's a way it would affect your business as well. So it's not all about, oh, you're sending your employees to do training on this, on new financial reporting standards, on the latest coding, data analytics, whatever. The soft skills are very important, things like this. So first, there's a survey I kind of created, right? And I was asking people some questions. The first thing is, are you one of those people that go to the restroom with your phone? And
Yeah.
then when you're doing the bio, you keep scrolling at your phone. A bio that should take you like, say like 5 minutes. You're still in the restroom. You're spending 10, 15 minutes,
Or more.
And if you're not the president of a country or you are the CEO of a company, where you don't have to always respond to something on your phone, or you are one of the most sought after consultants, why would you always operate your phone?
Why
Why
would
is
you?
your phone
And
part of your table setting?
Said, to make it worse, the point is that even family time is spent when people are, oh, let's go for dinner, whatever. They're doing, everybody's on their phone. We seem not to think that there's any
Exactly.
big deal about this issue anymore, but the addiction is an addiction. The time that, from what you have said, the time that people spend hours surfing was time that in the past was spent reading or
Exactly.
writing, being a content creator, like you said. The winners are the content creator, especially those who make money from those contents. Personally, I don't make money from my content. Maybe I'm not so keen about that for now. But I'm a writer, so I spend a lot of time typing stuff, typing stuff and so on. But for somebody who doesn't create any content, you're just a victim. So the time that people
Exactly.
spend reading in the past is what you're seeing being spent, being victims, and being indeed commoditized, being made a commodity by these powerful platforms, and even maybe the time that people spent in the distant past. Moving from one family to the other, going to greet people. So, we have come to greet you. How are you doing? Nobody greets anybody anymore. What do you think
It's
is the
not part of it
implication for the
again.
future of societies, especially societies like ours, that we haven't actually attained development? Maybe those Western societies, they've probably achieved everything they want to achieve. They are not really pursuing anything per se. Systems have been put in place and so on. But what is the future? What does it hold for our future in the society and even
Yeah.
in the economy?
Yeah. Honestly, first and foremost, from the economic perspective, yeah. They say the youth, like they constitute a chunk of the productive force of an economy. So how do we put our time into better use? These are the conversations. We are not saying people shouldn't go into content creation and whatnot. We we that are consuming these things, we are generating income for these people, right? But then we need to flip it. We need to ask ourselves genuine questions. How am I consuming this thing? How is it affecting me? What other use can I put my time into, my resources into? We all need to be informed, fine. But there's just I feel there are some things that are not even worth it spending our time on. The implication for a country now is, when you have a pool of youth, of individuals that are very comfortable with the basic things. Someone said something one day. I was having a conversation with a friend, and he said, the problem with Africans is we're very comfortable with the basic things. We like the paparazzi, we like all this. When you talk about skit making and something, yeah, it has created employment for people. But what other things? I feel like there are a lot that we can do. If we look at our higher institutions, like our polytechnics, for instance, I was thinking, like, see, people can start creating stuff and using it as content.
Yeah.
Of course, people are interested in we love the ferocity and laughing and whatever. But the implication for an economy is simply, in a few words for me, if we don't make use of our time, which is one of the most important resources, to do things that are of high impact and of value, it will come back to haunt us in the future.
Oh my God.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's already happening. But we need to come back to the drawing board.
No. You are going to expand. Issue. I would like you to think more around that and expand on it. Implications for the future of the youth of Nigeria as a country, as a society, as an economy. We're going to take a short break now. And when we come back, we're still discussing this issue of digital distraction. Major issue for all parents that are listening. But it's not only an issue for young people, even we who are older is also an issue for us. Stay tuned.
That's great.
Welcome back, viewers. And we've been discussing the issue of digital distraction. With me is Mr. Saheed Shokumbi, all the way from Germany. He's also a young man, an economist, also someone who's rounding up 2 masters. I think he's finished one in Germany. And this is a major issue for now. Welcome back, Saheed.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, so we've been, in Nigeria now we have a new government in, and there's hope for those who want to be hopeful, and we hope that more people get hopeful. The government is actually hitting the ground running and taking some decisions that are hard. Luckily, I think, luckily, I doubt if our new president is digitally distracted. Because at some point I can remember him saying that, look, he decided to get off social media because people were saying all sorts about him. But good for him if he's not digitally distracted. Because digital distraction also means that many people are not aware of their environment, of their society. They don't care. Once you get buried in this cyber life, this make-believe life, augmented reality it is called, everything else can go to blazes, So, but what can we do? In our public service, it worries me a lot. Many people in the public service, if you go there on a good day, those who bother to come to work, chances are that many people, 60-70% of the time, they spend it browsing different things and very little gets done. What you experience in Germany, how are they able to keep their people on the straight and narrow? And of course, Germany is one of the most productive countries in the world, still, in spite of all of this. What's your experience?
Yeah. Actually, it's quite different here. You know, we have a very I would say a structured public sector. I would say we have the same thing in Nigeria, but then when people are idle, that's the
The
question we should
volume is
ask. When people are idle, what do they do? You know, when people have a lot of time, is when you have a lot of time at your disposal, actually, is when you see yourself surfing the net and doing all these aimless things, you know. So if people are really occupied, as you've mentioned, the new president will definitely, I saw the video, you know, he said he's decided to stay off the internet. So not being digitally distracted and hitting the ground running as we've been seeing in news, right? If a public service, right? What we know public service to be doing is providing public goods.
yeah,
In
goods.
Germany, you see police officers parading the streets. It's not like they're looking for criminals. They are parading the streets and moving round and round and round, you know, and then just observing. You see them in different places. It's not like they're jobless. This is their job. They are providing the public goods, which is what? Security for the people.
Exactly.
So if we say that, okay, our police officers, instead of a police officer sitting at the station or something, well equipped, you understand, and then you see them moving around. It's not until they say, oh, something is happening, there's a disaster going on somewhere, right? That's just one of the few things. And when we look at it at the macro level, at every public service system setting in Nigeria, they have their mandate. And definitely, if they have a lot on their plate, we'll definitely not see these people coming to the office, surfing the net,
Exactly.
you know,
Meaning,
browsing and stuff.
having a lot on their plate could also mean, you know, of course, defining their job roles properly. And from what you've said about the police officers in Germany, which probably also extend everywhere, they need to be more active about, you know, it's about having roles that are active, whether you're in the health sector, environmental sector, security sector. I always keep saying, I've been writing about this for a long time, that there are jobs in Nigeria, even in the public sector, especially in the public goods provision sector. Even though we believe that there's no job, we'd like to, everybody runs out of the country, especially you young people. But the work is here for those who will stay. The job is
A
here.
lot.
Yeah. You know, yeah. So that, I mean,
A lot,
that's
actually.
very interesting. So yeah, so still talking about the future, you know, if we can get productivity in the public and private sector, and also, like you said, you also suggested something about people, you know, students in polytechnics and universities creating stuff and using it to drive content. Perhaps what you mean is that in Nigeria, rather than most of those people who will mock the older people for not being tech savvy or not being on the internet and so on, but they themselves are victims. But I think what you are saying, which you can also emphasize, is that we need to begin to sensitize ourselves to be more of content creators for the world, not even just for ourselves, not just comedy skits or pranksters, people who they will go, you're eating your food, they will go and eat the food, and sometimes it results to fight, or they just start running and all of that, and they are looking at, you know, Google AdSense, YouTube giving them money at the end of the month for it, you know. But I think what we're saying is that there's bigger stuff to do. If the next big thing that comes out of Nigeria, we need to be projecting ourselves to the world. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. So correctly, you've said it actually. So the dynamics there is let's imagine a polytechnic in Nigeria. I, for one, growing up, I remember my old man told me, you know, even before he went to the high institution, he learned welding, right? And all these things weren't documented, right? But then, if you look at a typical polytechnic, in one side of the economy, some people are using digital devices and social media platforms to create things for comedy to make money. On the other side, if our polytechnics are equipped, and then we can start doing stuffs, manufacturing stuffs. This thing might sound like they're far-fetched, but they're not far-fetched, honestly. It's all about visioning. We said, okay, we want to do this. If, let's say, Polytechnic of Ibadan, or maybe Ogun State Polytechnic, or any random polytechnic, right? They said, okay, they are looking at their engineering students, or let's say they want to construct a road in the polytechnic, right? and they brought their civil engineers and stuff. And then they start documenting this with whoever the contractor is, saying, okay, you're going to have about 50, okay, 50 might sound too much. You're going to have like 15 of our students helping you on this project. They are going to be paid. And then the school start documenting it. And then they are saying, okay, these students are useful in infrastructure development of that institution. It's content. It's content. It's about doing the real stuff, not about us learning things in theories. I was surfing the Nigerian debt profile and stuff, right? And I felt like, okay, we might not be industrialized. However, in Germany today, you see, Germany, as people see it, is not even one of the leaders when it comes to technology. No. I've seen factories, where they still run on, like, not recent technologies.
Yeah.
Who says we can't do ours?
Yeah. We like to throw things away here. Yeah.
We can. Who says we can't do ours? We can do ours.
And we can start small. Yes.
I see it. I've been opportune to be into a couple of factories, courtesy of my job. I work in the industrial automation space. We talk about industrial automation, cybersecurity, communication technology. And when I go to some factories, and I'll be like, oh my God, what's happening to us in Nigeria?
Okay. So what I want you to do for us is this. Yes, Saeed, we've run out of time, but two things I want you to do for me right now. Number one is you have to document a lot more and bring a lot of this knowledge and this way of thinking back to Nigeria. We can't lose everything we have, including our youth. Unfortunately, some people are misguided. They look down on Nigeria. But what I see when I look at Nigeria, I see work to be done for those who are willing to work. So document some more. These things you're saying and the way you're saying them are going to be very relevant. Lastly, in 10 seconds, what else can you share with us about Germany, and then we round up?
Yeah,
that we can learn here.
Germany is a land of opportunities, yeah. And I'd say there's a lot to learn. Germany is still learning as well, as much as people feel Germany is developed. But one thing people need to realize is when we look at policies, every economy is actually striving. It's like, it's a race. As much as we say, yeah, people are coming in, they are taking the best brains as well. Nobody would deny that. They're taking the best brains. But what we should pay attention to now is those of us here, what we can do back home, how we can support at home, right? It's a vibrant country, I would say. But then for some of us, no matter how much we leave Nigeria, we're still always thinking about, okay, when is that time that we want to return back home?
Fantastic.
We don't want to be disconnected.
Thank you so much,
we're
Saeed.
always having this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Saeed. We still bring you back on other topics in a very short while. It's been fantastic talking to you. Do have a nice time out there in Germany.
All right. And you too. All right.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much, viewers. It's been a fantastic time today discussing this digital distraction. Try and internalize it. We may not have covered everything that needs to be covered in the area. Do your research and let's get productive. Thank you very much. See you next week.